what's going on, guys? Brian here, and so today we're gonna take a look at a $40 budget USB condenser microphone, and it goes by the name of the TONOR TC-777. It's a budget option that has pretty solid audio quality, and it might just be perfect for those of you guys who are looking for an affordable option for starting into content creation, or if you just need like a microphone for your Zoom meetings for work, or just to chat with your friends on something like Discord. Now, for transparency, TONOR did send this microphone over to me for a review, but as you already know, this isn't going to impact my review in any way. Also, as always, as in every video, everything we talk about is going to be down in the description box below. So if you want a link to this microphone or any of the other microphones we use in this video or for testing, check out down there, and it'll be down there for you guys. So the TC-777 is a small and light, but pretty powerful and solid USB condenser microphone with a cardioid polar pattern. This means that in theory, the audio that this picks up should be mostly from the front, and then as you move to the sides and the back of this microphone, you should have, it should be rejected more so on the sides and the back. Now, keep in mind that since this is a condenser microphone, it will still pick up some sounds from like your keyboard and your mouse, or just ambient sounds in your room. And these type of microphones, condenser microphones in general, aren't the most ideal microphones for something like streaming, because again, it picks up those ambient sounds. That's what dynamic microphones are used. Doesn't mean you can't use it for streaming or those kind of things. It just means that they're not as ideal because they will have to pick up some of those sounds. So just keep that in mind when we get to the testing. Build quality of this microphone is going to be okay. The main body of the microphone is made of all plastic, while the grill is made of metal. Both the body and grill flex a little bit when you put some pressure on them, but it's really not going to be that much of an issue for you as long as you aren't super rough with this microphone. If you're leaving it on your desk, you're not moving it around, it should be perfectly fine. If you're taking it places, you're going to have to make sure that you protect it in some way so that you don't actually damage this microphone. Build quality is not super high. It'll work fine. It'll be fine as long as you aren't rough with it. Looking at the rest of the microphone, you're gonna find no extra gain knob or any other ports for something like, zero latency monitoring. And the only thing you're gonna find is gonna be the 5-foot USB cable on the bottom of the microphone, which to some may be alarming, because if you break this cable, then the microphone is basically kaput, Luckily though, TONOR does offer a 2-year warranty, so if you break it, you can get a hold of them and see what they're willing to do for you. Now, I don't have any experience with their direct warranty program because none of my actual TONOR products have broken, but I do have a representative that I speak to very often if they want to send me products to do reviews like this one right here, and they are very, very, very responsive. And my expectation would be that their warranty team would be just as responsive. I would hope that's what would happen. Now, along with the microphone, you're gonna get a couple things with it in the box. The stand is gonna be a mini tripod with collapsible legs and rubber feet. I think the design is great, and the rubber feet should actually help absorb some of the feedback while typing on your keyboard, clicking on your mouse, or if you accidentally just bump into your desk. Now, the one downside I saw with this stand is that it does have plastic threads. So to screw this onto your shock mount or onto anything else, it's gonna have plastic threads, and plastic wears much faster than metal ones do. So if you're using this often, if you're unscrewing it very often, you could see those threads wear over time, or rather quickly, because again, they're not made of metal. You might have to warranty them if you get to that point, but again, that's my concern with the stand. Like the stand, the shock mount threads are also made of that plastic, so they're gonna be worn pretty quickly as well. In fact, the entire shock mount is gonna be made of plastic, and then you have like these rubber bands for the actual, to help with the vibrations of your desk, or feedback if you actually bump your desk. And the hinge is pretty solid too, and it holds up pretty well, so the microphone doesn't move or anything when you're talking to it. And overall, the shock mount is pretty flimsy, but the bright side here is that you have a shock mount in the first place, because shock mounts are typically aftermarket accessories, okay? If you buy a microphone, a more premium one, you typically have to buy a shock mount along with it. So you don't get one, you don't get one in the box with it, so you're spending more money. So the fact that you have a shock mount already in the box, I think that's a super big plus, even if it's not the absolute best. Attached to that shock mount is going to be your pop filter arm, and it's made of metal, and it's permanently attached to the shock mount. You can't remove it in any way, so if you don't want to use it, you're stuck with it. What's weird though is that the actual pop filter itself is going to screw on towards the top, so you can take that part off if you don't want it, but again, you can't take the whole arm off, so you can't remove it. And what's kind of strange about this whole setup is that the pop filter arm is going to be non-removable, like I just said, and the kit also includes a windscreen. So you typically use a windscreen or a pop filter, but in this case, you have a pop filter arm no matter what, and you get a windscreen. So it's kind of weird that you have both of them, and you can certainly use both of them, but they're not really necessary, in my opinion, to get you optimal performance. So I'm not actually sure why TONOR would include both of them in this kit, especially since you can't remove, like I just said, the pop filter arm. As for setting this microphone up, well, it's actually really super basic because the microphone basically comes assembled out of the box. You take it out of the box, you set it up, you plug it into your computer, and then Windows is going to find all the required drivers that you might need for the microphone, and you'll be good to go. You'll be off to the races. And since this microphone doesn't include that gain dial, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the design, all of the gain is going to have to be controlled via Windows and software. You can do this by right-clicking the little sound icon on your taskbar, then click Open Volume Mixer, double-click the sound system icon, go to the recording tab, click on the TC-777 microphone. You're gonna have to double click it, and then click on the levels tab, and then that is where you're gonna change the gain for this microphone. It's by default, it's gonna be set to percentage, but if you want to set it to the decibels like I typically use it at, you can just right click on that little speaker icon in that tab, and it'll give you the option of selecting decibels. Now, from testing this microphone out, I would highly recommend not raising your gain over 75% or plus 10 dB in Windows. And that is because if you set it higher than this 75% or the plus 10 dB, which actually might be a little bit too high too, depending on your your whole setup, the audio starts to break up, distort, and it sounds pretty rough once it gets up there. When I was at 80, it sounded really rough, even if it wasn't peaking or anything like that. It just sounded rough. So if it's under that, it sounds pretty good. If it goes over that, it's pretty rough. The downside of this is going to be that you're going to have to boost it in post or in OBS or whatever program that you are using for recording your audio. So just keep that in mind. So what I want to do now is going to show you how this microphone manages like rear noise rejection, as well as plosions, as well as how it compares to the Rode Video Micro and then the TONOR Q9. TONOR Q9 was the microphone I reviewed probably about a month or so ago. So I want to show you guys what it sounds like compared to those microphones, because the TONOR Q9 is a much more expensive. I think it's like a $70 microphone right now. So you can have an idea of what a $40 microphone gets, a $40 microphone kit versus a $70 microphone kit. So with all of that said, let's jump into the testing. All right, so now you may have noticed that I added some stuff to the scene. This is the Q9. I still have the Rode Video Micro right here, and then I still have the TC-777 right here. I also have a mechanical keyboard with MX Brown switches. It's Corsair K70, I believe. And I also added the windscreen for the general purpose usage for this microphone because I have a windscreen on the Q9. I have a windscreen also on the Rode Video Micro. So the first test I want to do is a 360-degree rotation test on the TC-777 alone to show you what it sounds like if from the sides as well as the rear. So I am currently talking into the front of the TC-777, and I'm slowly turning it to the left-hand side, or 90 degrees, and you can hear from this left-hand sided 90 degrees what it sounds like from this side. We are now slowly turning to the rear of the microphone, and this is what it sounds like from the rear of the microphone. We are now continuing to rotate to the opposing 90-degree side, and this is what it sounds like from this side. And we are going to finish up by talking into the front of the microphone again. This is what it sounds like from the front of the microphone for comparison. I have now reinstalled the microphone into the shock mount. It's about 6 inches from my mouth, and I'm going to type on the keyboard while talking to you guys, okay? This is me talking into the microphone while typing on MX Brown switches, and we are talking about nothing really, but this is what it sounds like if you're typing on your keyboard while talking into this microphone. I have now moved the TC-777 out of range, so it's like about 2 feet from me. So if you want to keep the microphone out of frame for like a podcast or for like for game streaming, this is what it would sound like. I am now typing on my MX Brown switch keyboard, the K70 from Corsair, and this is what it sounds like if you're typing on that keyboard while talking into the microphone. We are going to now compare it to the Rode Video Micro as well as the TONOR Q9. I'm now speaking into the TONOR TC-777 microphone to compare it to the TONOR Q9 microphone and the Rode Video Micro microphone. I'm now speaking into the Rode Video Micro shotgun microphone in order to compare it to the TONOR TC-777 and TONOR Q9 microphone. I'm now speaking into the TONOR TC-777 microphone to compare it to the TONOR Q9 microphone and the Rode Video Micro microphone. I'm now speaking into the TONOR Q9 to compare it to the TONOR TC-777 microphone and the Rode Video Micro shotgun mic. We are now going to do some plosion testing with the windscreen, with just the pop filter, without both of them, and then with both of them. So without either the windscreen or pop filter, please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes.
pancakes. With the windscreen, please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. Without the windscreen or pop filter, please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. With the pop filter, please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. Without the windscreen or pop filter, please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. With the windscreen and pop filter, please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes. Please borrow pancakes.
All right, so for 40 bucks, this microphone seems pretty good. I think the audio quality is solid, it's well built, and it comes with a ton of great accessories, especially for that $40 price point. I do like it, but it's certainly not without some concerns. The microphone seems to be very sensitive, okay? What I mean by this is that if your gain is set too high, and this is why I recommended that 75% limit, and even if you're not clipping, so you're not even pushing it beyond that, if it's just set too high, you end up finding a situation where your audio just starts falling apart and it doesn't sound very great, okay? This leads me to that recommendation I had from earlier, like I was just saying, where you should set your gain to no higher than 75% or plus 10 dB. Yes, this means you're gonna have to boost your volume after recording, but it's much better than having recorded all this audio and listening back to it and it being completely unusable, which is something we don't want at all. Again, audio's fine as long as it's under that 75%. The other concern I had with this microphone was the rear noise rejection. It picks up sounds from behind it pretty heavily, and so that makes it kind of not so great for streaming, especially where you'll be smashing on your keyboard or your mouse. So if you're doing like some, if you're playing with keyboard and mouse, you're playing games that get pretty intense, streaming with this microphone could be pretty rough. Now, if you're just streaming, like if you're doing like a podcast type streaming or you're doing like a Q&A, that kind of streaming could be perfectly fine. So if I did like a video on my channel where I was just chatting with you guys, I think this microphone would be perfectly fine. But if you're playing games with it, I think you might have an issue. So basically, the bottom line is that I can definitely see myself recommending this microphone to someone who needs a budget-friendly option for Zoom meetings, Discord, even a YouTube channel or podcasts like these type of videos. But I would definitely stay away from this microphone for like streaming video games because of, again, the noise rejection, the rear noise rejection. The keyboard's gonna get picked up way too much, the mouse is gonna get picked up way too much. And it's not necessarily just this microphone's issue, but it's a lot of condenser microphones. They have the same issue. So go ahead and hit that like button if you ended up enjoying this video, the sub button if you ended up loving it. Check out my other reviews. I'll have them pop up somewhere on this screen. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you guys would like to see me review next down in the comments below. And with that said, I'm gonna get out of here.